Why did I move to Albuquerque? People ask me all the time. I went to school for college at St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it's actually the third oldest college in the country after William and Mary and Harvard. Their sister campus is in Annapolis, Maryland, right across from the Naval Academy. And I was drawn to that school, not just because of the Southwest. I was drawn because of the program where it taught you how to teach yourself and taught you how to think. After graduating St. John's, I went off to New York to seek my fortune, like many young guys in the late 90s. And then after 9/11, I decided that I didn't want to be a stockbroker anymore. I wanted to run a more holistic practice, and so I got in a yellow moving van. I packed my wife, our 2 cats, and we moved back to her home state of New Mexico. And Albuquerque's been our home ever since. And from there, we've raised 2 kids. I've got a 3-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'd never go back to New York now. A lot of people ask me what my ideal client is, because we have a lot of variety. If you ever come to some of our events, we did an event with 100 of our clients at the Balloon Fiesta, and you see a lot of different types of people, but there's one common theme. In general, we are a firm that caters to scientists, engineers, and people who have a strong technical professional background. So some of our favorite clients that we have at the firm work at Los Alamos Laboratories or Sandia National Labs, and they literally work on nuclear weapons, and they work on some of the greatest advancements of science that people are working on today. And those people understand why they need an advisor who can really understand the history, the philosophy, and the common sense of investing. And they're seeking people out that they can entrust their financial goals to with that same level of intellectual curiosity about financial markets that they have for the science and physics. Highway 4. This is my favorite road in New Mexico, probably America. The reason why is that when I visit my clients up in Los Alamos, I get to put my red Pilati racing shoes on, and I take my car. I've got a Alpina B7, which is just a big BMW with a fast engine in it, and I go and I have the most wonderful drive in the morning going through 40 to 50 miles of winding roads. And by the time I see my clients taking the back road to the labs, the energy is ecstatic. I'm happy to see my clients, and the best thing is they know how happy I am about the lifestyle that I've created for myself, because when they hire me, they're hiring somebody that says, hey, this guy gets my lifestyle. He knows that I work hard, but I want to spend more time on the mountain. I want to use my money and the wealth that I've acquired over the years to go skiing, to spend time with the grandkids, and have some time to go drive that convertible on the weekend. So I always say, why not show by example? Why not show them that I know that lifestyle that they want because I'm living it myself? When I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and think, I've got an hour and a half of the most beautiful roads to drive before seeing a few clients to talk about how their financial future is secure and it's going to make them fulfilled personally, you can't think of a better win-win. And what a better way to come back to your family after a hard day's work and say, was that really work? We have a term at the firm called more time on the mountain. What does that mean? We're in New Mexico, so almost everywhere you look, there's a mountain range in front of everybody's living room window. For some people, spending more time on the mountain is literal. They love to hike, they love the outdoors. I like to hike, I like to ski. But the concept of spending more time on the mountain is really having a deep personal understanding of what it is that you want to spend that next phase of your life doing. When you spend 30 to 40 years, decades of your life in a particular profession, not just learning and crafting something, but accumulating the wealth for that next phase when you hang it up, I have to coach people and make sure that I pull out what is it that's important to you? How are you going to take this one phase in your life of accumulating wealth and having kids and getting married and having a career and then retiring and then continuing on with that passion, with that curiosity about life? So part of my job outside of keeping people in their lifestyle is making sure I remember always to have them live that examined life, make sure that they have a fulfilling life. And if you can take away those worries, if you can add efficiency, but also common clarity in their financial situation, they're going to be spending more time on the mountain, whatever that may mean. It's hard to differentiate yourself in this business because so many people say the same thing. They're retirement planners, they're financial advisors. What we do is we start with that first meeting, not trying to sell somebody a product or telling them about what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is going to do or not going to do next year. But I simply say, hey, why don't you just tell me what's going on? This is your meeting the first time we meet, and I want you to download and tell me your stories. And it doesn't matter if those stories are about money or about markets. Those stories are going to convey your values. And if I spend enough time listening in those first few meetings instead of talking, I'm going to understand more deeply about who you are and how you view money, and also how you view your life and what you want to accomplish with it and for your family. From there, we can get to that second meeting where I can blueprint this out. I can show you in a different way, a way that you haven't seen before. Fresh eyes on what your financial and personal life actually look like. You're going to see a blueprint. And from there, we can start going on what are the lowest hanging fruits that we can accomplish now? What kind of big changes can we make today that are driven by your needs, not necessarily what my agenda is? Because remember, this is going to be a multi-year process. If somebody comes to me at the age of 60 and says, I need help managing my finances in retirement, we are looking at a 10, 20 plus year relationship. So I want to make sure on the front end, I know who you are, and you can't do that quickly. But if I take a holistic viewpoint and always think about more time on the mountain versus what my personal agenda is going to be, we're both going to have a great relationship, and there's never going to be a misunderstanding 2 or 3 years from now. When I first left Wall Street, I used to think about the things that I left it for. That typical bad behavior that you see a typical stockbroker throwing darts at a dartboard. People would ask, where are the customers' yachts? But as time went by and I established my practice in New Mexico, I realized that there was a tremendous value of my days on Wall Street, even though at the time it was hectic, chaotic, and it wasn't healthy for me personally. I learned that you've got to have the customer come first. And that's not a lesson you always learn on Wall Street. You also learn how capital markets actually work, and you realize there are real live people making huge changes about how the structure of the market will continue going forward. It's not just about what you see on CNBC. It's not just about computers or algorithms. There are real people that are putting capital that are going to need that later to live on. And so what I learned in the end is have a very healthy respect for risk. Understand that if you're not treating the whole patient, you're treating nothing. And most importantly, you've got to believe in what you do, and you've got to believe that the clients are going to come first. Because anything else, and then you have an example of a Bear Stearns, a Lehman Brothers, and all the things that people get cynical about the Wall Street structure. Right now, when you look on the internet or read financial blogs, there's a lot of discussion about having your number. In fact, there was a book written a few years ago about the number. I would say that's important. We have to accumulate X amount of dollars for you to have X amount of cash flow. But there's far too much focus on this number and putting and projecting your feelings and emotions on what that means, rather than understanding what it is that you need going into this next phase of your life. I think it's far more important to understand and clarify who are you going to be after you stop working. What kind of activities, what kind of lifestyle do you want to continue having as you go through your 60s and 70s? Hey, it's a different world out there. I've got people in their 60s who, in their mind, they've got 20 good years, not 10 good years to have fun. And so we have to stop thinking about this singular number, this very stark idea that once I get here, I have it made. You never have it made unless you have it made in here and you have it made in here. So what I want to walk through people is, let's talk about where you're going to get cash flow from. But that's going to come from other sources than just your stock and bond portfolio. You've got pensions, you've got annuities, you have Social Security, you have reverse mortgages on your house. Let's look at the whole picture. Let's think of it in cash flows, because in the end, all we really care about with our clients is one thing. Are they spending more time on the mountain? Are they living a full life? Can they look at what they've done over the past 20 years when they're 80 years old and look back and say, I did it. I had more fun in those last 20 years than I had in my entire working life. That has nothing to do with the number. That has to do with working with somebody who can put all the pieces together and also be that cheerleader, be that coach, be that person to say, you go for it. You want to be an artist, you want to be a poet, you want to learn to ski at age 70. Let's do this and let's figure out a plan to do that. And yeah, that's going to involve the cash.